A subscriber was asking if you could ball up scrap sterling silver if you don't have any sterling silver wire. And unfortunately, I don't have any scrap sterling silver anymore, but what I do have is some scrap sterling silver jewelry, and which was going to go to the refinery, but I'll try using this. I know it's wire and not sheet, but that's the closest thing I have, but it's obviously not a square or a round wire that's going to ball up uniformly. So that's what we're looking at here. All right, let's try that again. Well, there's some smoke coming off of that. So the problem with scrap is that it's probably not going to ball up uniformly. And again, this is a wire and it's not sheet. I'd like to actually have some sheet sterling silver, like even just sort of snippets. All right, there it's starting to ball up a bit. There's one. Getting closer to the pliers now, so it's not melting quite as good. Just raise the level up a bit here. Yeah, now the pliers are acting as a heat sink. Oh, that got pretty hot. Okay, so let's just not deal with that little piece there. And then let's see what we got as a result. I don't think they're going to be very big or very nice. No, it's more like a little pellet. So I think your best bet is still to use a wire because it's controllable and you can watch it actually ball up in a uniform fashion. That one's a fail. So what I do have in sterling silver in my scrap pile is this, pretty sure it's 10 gauge wire. Okay, so it's actually 7 gauge wire. Yeah. That's going to require some bigger implements. And got some lock grips or locking vice grips here, which I'm going to secure it with. That's going to be a heat sink. quite tight enough. Okay, so that's in there nice and solid, and I'm going to need a much bigger torch for this, and I'm not going to flux it again, and let's get this up here a bit higher, and I need to make sure that there's nothing flammable behind or in front of the torch, because it doesn't ball up as nicely as Argentium. Okay, so let's have a look here. Oh, well, those are actually kind of nice. They're even more organic than the Argentium. So let's zoom in here. There's some really cute little shapes in here. Let's see here. So this is going in the scrap pile. Sorry for the camera work. Okay, there we go. All right, so these are really nice. Not that one. You get out of there. Okay, what do we got here? So they're not as, well, those, yeah, definitely. Okay, let's do this a different way now. All right. So that's what I got out of the 10 gauge. And, you know, if you're after organic shapes and that, you don't need Argentium. In fact, the sterling produces even more organic shapes than the Argentium does, which, and the size of the wire actually doesn't matter. So that was 8 gauge wire. That's pretty substantial. Obviously you need a big torch to melt it, but the silver is only going to ball up so much before the weight and the gravity take effect and the ball separates from the main piece of silver. So those are actually, I think I'm going to take that sterling silver out of scrap repurpose these. Yeah, I like them. Okay, just for fun, not having any scrap sterling silver sheet, I'm going to try balling up some Argentium sheet and see how that works out. Okay, so this is Argentium, and I can see a problem with that little center part that's thin right away. So let's heat that up and get that melted. And I think that flame is just too concentrated on that blazer. So this is a Sondiko torch head, and you put it onto the butane camping fuel containers. And this is actually a really powerful torch. I'm quite impressed with it. I can do quite a bit of annealing and even melting silver with it. All right, let's try this here. This will go a lot faster. There we go. Okay. Oh, this is where we're running into the problem. No, that doesn't want to. So again, if you're using sheet, it's going to be variable. All right, I'm curious to see what's come of that. Okay, well, that's interesting. These are kind of cute. Cute little blobs. But again, this is Argentium, so you're going to get different results. So that's with Argentium sheet. Scrap. And you know what? Nothing wrong with that. They're unique, and you know, I can see using them as a back plate for something. Maybe having a really tiny cab that you would with a bezel, like already a pre-made bezel, and putting that on there. They'd have to be really tiny, or else maybe do a little collage of these things. Who knows? Anyways, they're just fun. So I'm gonna try adding a little bit of flux to the silver, just seeing if that makes any difference with how it balls up. wires are acting too much like a heat sink. So this is actually a really cool torch to have in your arsenal, especially if you're doing any soldering or that on the road. It's just the tip on there, and it pops on and off like that. And twist. So you can take that on the plane with you. You can't take the butane bottle, but you can buy butane anywhere pretty much. And now let's have a look at our little castings. I'm really curious. So let's see, these ones I know were cast from a lot lower. Let me fish one of these out. Oops. Okay. So that's actually really nice. What I like about these is that they have sort of the irregular edges on them. And then these were cast from a bit higher up. So that one ended up pancaking. That one's really nice too. Again, like I said with the other original video, is play around with your heights and your wires. To see what is actually working best for you. Oh my goodness, that's an interesting one. That one ended up seizing up right in the middle of another one. So that's actually the most uniform sterling silver one I've ever managed to produce. Looks more like Argentium sterling silver. So I think, personally, as much as I love Argentium sterling silver, if you're looking for really organic looking ones and not so uniform, is go with the sterling silver, because the edges are a little bit more ruffled, like they would or like you would find on florals or other sort of organic shapes. And that's it. I'd say that's a success. Maybe how many of these are not usable? I think they're all usable, actually. Yeah, everyone will be usable. Okay, so that's another way to use your sterling silver scrap too, if you have some lying around. Or scrap wire, I should say. Not I'm not a fan of balling up the sterling silver scrap like sheet or anything like that. Wire works best. So here are the results of the water casting of the sterling silver. So there's some really good shapes here. I don't think I would use that one. It's a bit too deep, and well, maybe not. Might be okay. That one. It's actually quite perfect. I'm going to tumble these and then see what they look like. But I really like the frosted fine silver on there right now. Burnishing will flatten that down again, and you won't have that shiny. Here's one that's shiny. Let's see here. So this is fire stain. If you've never seen fire stain before, this is a good example of fire stain. So it's that pink coppery kind of tone in the metal, and apparently you can't get rid of that unless you file it. That's going to be on the bottom of anything I make with it, so it's not going to be visible. And yeah, I'd say this was a successful cast with the sterling silver, and a big surprise actually that they turned out as nice as they did. What I'd like to try and figure out now is how do I replicate pieces like this one here. This one is very organic looking. So using it on either side. Here's another one. All right, go make yourself something fun.